and that's when we brought it here.
Colonel Hanneman, you must have done that because you knew it was going to end up with an accident. He had a crystal ball, and so he said, well, this is going to end up in the museum, so I'll go ahead and pick this one. So.
How much was it modified?
We did that, and then we did all the modifications mainly in the rear. We put an underslung, side-looking radar antenna, infrared, put cameras in the rear bomb bay. We put a panoramic camera up here in the nose. This is all modification. This is for the panoramic camera for 665A. It's non-standard to a WB-50.
Morning.
Zoom is always a pain.
I want to take a picture of you.
Yeah, it's dark in there, isn't it?
I imagine it is. She said we could climb up at the top of the ladder. That's it.
Oh, really? Him too?
Get the video camera right there.
No, I mean, can you get in?
I don't think so. They can go to the top of the ladder.
That's Dad if he wants the video camera.
Not enough light.
Oblique photography and running SLAR and infrared. All
So it hadn't been opened
to
in
see
10 years.
differentially. Best techniques for extracting and finding targets out of the terrain. That's what
Now, how long did those tests run?
We picked up the airplane in '66. We ran the tests mostly in '67, starting in the late spring or early summer. I left to go to Vietnam in November, and the tests were finished in early '68. And rather than take the airplane back to Davis Monthan,
They just
sure.
Well, so they must have removed all the equipment before it came to the museum.
Yeah, they took the side-looking radar off.
Yeah.
And in fact, they even took I noticed on the driftman, they took the instrument out. Some radios in the overhead panel also removed, probably already they were still in service and everything, and they put them back in the supply system.
Save a little bit of money. Have you had a chance, or do you plan to put down your history in an article, or just jot it down?
Never done that.
Well, you know, we sure would appreciate it because there's just there's so much. Maybe if you could just jot, it doesn't have to be, because we have people that can rewrite it, but just even one line notes, or we did this and we did this. It doesn't have to be long, but even just.
Do you have anything about the history of the type model series and the units that were involved with it?
We have a little bit of information on some of the units. Most all the unit history is down at Maxwell Air Force Base, but we have
originally the first weather recce airplanes like this were WB-29s.
Right.
And there were 6 squadrons around the world. One at Mildenhall in England, one at Kinley in Bermuda, McClellan, McCord in Washington, and at Japan, and also on Guam, Anderson on Guam, Dakota and Anderson. So there were 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 squadrons. When I arrived in November of '59 out of flying school, they were just shutting down the Mildenhall squadron. And we then took the air sampling mission, worldwide air sampling mission from there, was transferred to McClellan, which was also the headquarters of 9th Weather Reconnaissance Group. So we were co-located with the group headquarters. When de Gaulle decided to build nuclear weapons and test them, his first tests in the Sahara were in the spring of '60. And the U.S. volunteered to, come and help air sampling for him and everything.
I don't need you guys. Yeah.
So we sent 2 airplanes to Wheelis, Tripoli, and 2 airplanes to Iran and Saudi Arabia because we wanted to know what the French were doing.
Absolutely, yeah.
So we did that at the Ramadan season in 1960.
Hey, Christine.
And then later on, because they had transferred it,
My brother's up there.
we were responsible for all the flights out of McClellan and also out of Eielson to cover the Russian nuclear test series in 61, the summer, fall, early winter of 61. At that time, the Air Force's criterion and limits the flying time was we were limited to maximum of 120 hours in any given month and a rolling average of 110 hours per month. During the 5 months from July 61 through November of 61, I averaged 107 hours and 40 minutes, which is a fantastic resource management done by our ops people because we were all McClellan, but we sent, I think, 6 or 7 of our airplanes, more than half of the squadron we sent to Eielson. We used to shuttle crews back and forth. And we'd bring one back from Alaska and replace it. Only it was necessary to do maintenance work that couldn't be done at Eielson. We had a detachment at Eielson.
Now, was she painted pretty much like this?
Yes, 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 yes. Because it was like this when it was the Davis Monthan, and we didn't disturb them. Okay.
Good.
This one, unfortunately, one of the aircraft that was out.
Had a small circular filter paper. Then we never had. Oh yes, we did. We brought here drop tanks. The B-50 standard drop tank was for fuel, but they had been modified earlier years, so the front half of the drop tank was an F-54. It still had gas in the rear part, but up in front there was a rotating door that could rotate the slipstream, and behind it was a large filter paper, and those were electrically controlled from the Wright scanner's position. The Wright scanner's position was a scintillation counter. Special equipment stuff was put in there for the controls for, actually not for the foil, but for monitoring.
Now, why did they have 3 different filters? Were they different size, or were they?
We normally didn't. We normally used the I-2B most of the time, except on synoptic missions. I think it was mainly, this one was mainly for alerting. The special equipment operator had 9 scales. They were logarithmic scales. And when we would hit something and find something, you'd see that first with the I-2B. Then he'd tell us he'd found something. So we'd go into a 15-degree orbit and stay in that air mass, collecting, and we'd open the doors. And then he could watch the accumulation of radiation debris with the scintillation counter.
Oh, okay.
So he could then watch as gradually we accumulated more, and it would work its way up through these scales. Okay, I had one Russian test over Canada at 30,000 feet in the fall of '61. And that one test, when they got the results back, finished the gathering for 3 different Russian weapons. In that one orbiting pattern that we hit, we got debris from 3 different weapons. The office that controlled all of this was at Boeing Air Force Base. And they were the ones that if they found something, they saw an event, the Russians did, they sent the balloon up, and then we'd launch airplanes. And
now, how could you do 3 different weapons? Did they block?
They could tell by what
different type. Okay,
oh yeah, when they analyzed it, they knew it was.
And it was still up in the air. All that.
Hey, listen, those guys were flat good. During '61, the Russians sent up false weather reports out of all of their weather stations in Siberia to try and keep us from